Hello and welcome to Developers Den by Newton School. I am 𝐏𝐚𝐲 𝐀𝐟𝐭𝐞𝐫 I'm a front-end developer, and today we are going to continue our series of creating the Nike landing page. In the previous video, if you must have watched that, since you are in the second part, we created the header, we set up our entire project, we declared the variables and everything. And in this video, we are going to complete our project. So if I just close this, you can see that this header part is done. This is the live website where we are creating. And in this video, we're going to create, let me make it even smaller. So this is fine. I'll keep it here. So in this part, we are going to create the Mainfold section first, then the footer section, and then finally the overlay image. So we already have all the assets that we need that I showed in the previous video. Make sure that you have watched that particular video. And let's get started with this part. But before starting, make sure that you have liked this video, you have subscribed to my channel, because I promise you that every time you watch my channel, you learn something new. And before starting, a big thanks to Newton School for helping me make this video. Newton School is a platform which teaches you full stack web development, and they promise that you'll get a job of minimum 5 lakh rupees and up to 40 lakh rupees per annum. And the best part about Newton School is that you don't have to pay even a single penny before you get a job. So do check them out. The link will be in the description below. Now let's get started with the rest of the section for our Nike landing page. And let's get started with creating the Mainfold section. So to create the Mainfold section, I'll close the header part, and inside the Mainfold, as you know that I give the first class name same as the file name that I have. So this will be Mainfold. If you will notice that this entire thing should be wrapped inside a div so that I can move it accordingly. So the first thing that I need here is a div, and I'll call this as Mainfold content. So I'll say Mainfold content, and the next to this, inside this, I have a title. I have a description, and I have button and the price. So the first thing is a div, which is the title. I can call this anything, so I'll just call as Mainfold title. Sorry, this is not the title. Sorry, this is the class name actually. So the class name is this, and I'll copy the title from here. You can give it any sneaker title name. If you're a sneakerhead, you can give it any famous name that you want. Also, I'll see why it is not being rendered here. Even though it is saved, I'll see it is running. Let me see my app.js file. Okay, so next to my header, I need to import my Mainfold. So this Mainfold is here. You can see Nike Air Pre-Max Pre-Day is being rendered. I'll close my terminal. Now if I go to my Mainfold, next to my title, I have the description. So I'll say div, and I'll give the class name of Mainfold description. Mainfold description. Now I'll just copy this description from here. You can write any description that you want, or you can take the actual description from Nike's website. Just make sure that you don't get into any copyright claim. Again, this is just an educational video, so I hope Nike doesn't flag me. So next to the description, we have two things here. One is the button and is the price. So I'll wrap both of these inside a div. But before creating the buttons, what I will do is I will create the CSS for these four classes first of all. So the first class that we have is the Mainfold. So I'll say dot Mainfold. So I'm a very big fan of CSS Flexbox, and in all of my videos I use CSS Flexbox. So if you watch my videos, you'll be very comfortable with CSS Flexbox. So I'll say display as flex. Now next to the flex, I want everything to be stacked on top of each other. Now if I'll just save, you'll see it is rendering like this. And also a Mainfold.css. Okay. And also I want it to be stacked on top of each other. So I will say that flex direction to be column. And next to this, I want, okay, just to check if the styles are being applied, I'll give it a color and see. Okay, the styles are being applied. I'll remove this. So this is just a very common check that developers use. Just give it a background color to see if the CSS is working or not. Now next to this, I want everything to be at the center. So I'll say justify content as center. You must be seeing that nothing is working now, because inside the Mainfold, all of the content is wrapped inside another div. So next to this, I'll say width as 100% and flex grow as 1. Now what this flex grow will do is that it will take the entire entire height inside the app. So if you minus the height of the header, if you minus the height of this footer, you must be seeing that this Mainfold is taking the entire remaining height. So this is possible due to the property this flex grow. Now inside my Mainfold, I have Mainfold content. So for the Mainfold content, I want a maximum width of 35%. That's it. because rest of the width is taken by the image, this image. So this is how much I want it to be. Now next to the max width, I want a margin left of 80 pixel. Now you must have seen that if you watched the previous video, you must have seen that this margin left of 80 pixel is equal to the header's margin left. You will see this margin left of 80 pixel. Now inside my margin main fold content, next to this I want color to be a variable which is shade black. Now if you watch the previous video, which you should, otherwise you won't understand what's going on here, you must have noticed that we declared a variable shade black, and I also explained that why it is important to use colors as variable in your project. Now if you'll see, it is in the shade black and it is aligning. This is aligning with this cursor here. Now next to the main fold content, we have the title and the description. So I'll say main fold title. Now my title is of 96 pixels, so I'll say font size of 96 pixel, and I want it to have a font weight of 800. Now font weight is the depth, or you can say the thickness of your font. Perfect. Nike Air Max pre-day. Now for the description, first of all I want some margin from the top. Description. Perfect. Now for the description, the first thing that I want is font size of 18 pixel, font size of 18 pixel. Now you must be seeing that between the two lines there is very little gap, so I'll give it a line height. Now line height is the gap between two lines, so I'll say line height of not line height of 24 pixel. Now you see there is proper gap between two lines. Now next to the font size, I'll also say that font weight to be a little lighter. I'll say font weight to be 300, and then finally a little gap from the title in the description. So I'll say margin top as 24 pixel. Margin top as 24 pixel. Now you must be seeing that this is how the main fold this thing looks. Perfect. Now we just have to create. I'll shift myself here so that you can see it better. Now we have to create the button and the price section. Now to create the button, I'll again go to my main folds file, and here I will say that next to this description, create another div, and I'll give it a class name of, let us say, main fold price button. So I'll say price and button. So BTN will be the button. Now here, now you must be wondering that why I created a separate div to enclose everything, because by default I'm stacking on top of each other, but for these two I want it next to each other. So therefore I'll give a display property of flex to this particular class, so that everything inside this class will be rendered next to each other in the same line. So the first one is a button. So the button's class name will be okay, there is a spelling mistake, it is main fold. Perfect. Now for this, the class name will be main fold. Let us call this as button. Now for this, the class name is main fold button, and inside this button the class is simple, add to bag, bag capital. So if you see here, add to bag is here. And the next thing, also in the previous video I forgot to mention that this part is perfectly working. Now let's come back to this main fold button. Add to bag is there, and next to the add to bag we have another div, and inside this div we have the price. Let's copy this particular price, or you can copy any price that you want. You can give it any price, since it's your own website and it's a mocking project. Now let's give it a class name of main fold price. Main fold price. Now in this main fold price, this price looks good. Now let's go to the main fold CSS and let's style both of these things. So the first of all is the container that we have to style. Let me look how it is looking. Perfect. So the first thing that I have to do is main fold price button, main fold price, okay, not price, price BTN. Perfect. Now the main fold price button, for this I'll say display as flex. Now I'll say justify content as center. Not center, because I want it to be at the start, so I'll say flex start. And the next thing, if you'll see, it is now rendered next to each other. Now next to this I want vertically everything to be center, and finally I'll say there should be some gap from the top, so I'll say margin top to be at 24 pixel. Yes, it looks good. Let me just show you. Yes, now there is some gap. Next to this, let us style the button that we have. So for this I'll say main fold button, main fold button. Now for this particular button that we have, first of all I want it to have a background color of shade black. Perfect. Now you can see this is same as this one. Now I want it to have a color of white, otherwise my text won't be visible. So I'll say where white. Now if you'll see, my add to bag is looking fine. And next to this I want it to have a padding. First of all, Now a button looks good if you have lesser of vertical padding, which means top and bottom, but a higher horizontal padding. So I'll say padding of 16 pixel from top and bottom and 50 pixel from left and right. And next to the padding, I want a border radius of 8 pixel because I want it to be a little curved. Now it looks like exactly like the button, the kind that we want. Now there should be some gap between the price and the button. So I'll say margin right to be 24 pixel and cursor to be as pointer so that it looks like it is clickable. Perfect. Now our button is done. Let us just style the main fold price. Perfect. Now for the main fold price, I want the font size to be of 30 pixel. Next to the font size, I want font weight to be of 600, font weight to be of 600. If you'll see, this is how it looks. I just have to change the color to be a little more emphasized. So instead of shade black, I will use actual black. So where black. So if you are confusing that where these colors are coming from, in the previous video, we declared all of these variables. Now next to the shade black, I want cursor to be pointer. Cursor to be pointer. Perfect. Now if you'll see, this is how my website, the main fold section looks like. Now let us create the footer section. So for the footer section, we have the index, and as you know that the first class name that I always give is the class name for footer. So the file names class, so I'll say this is the footer. Perfect. Now we have two things, if you will notice on the website. First is these product images, and let me keep myself in the center, and the second is play video button. So the first div that I will be creating is product footer images wrapper. So I'll say div, and I'll give it a class name of footer images wrapper. Now this wrapper is enclosing all the images that I have. Now inside this we have three images, so I'll say img, and now let me give it a alternate text so that the underline is gone, product one, and I'll save it. The class name that I'll be giving to this will be footer product image, footer product image. Perfect. And then we need the source. Now source, as I mentioned in the previous video, that if you are using React, and if you built a React application using CRA, which is create React app, then you have to use require here, require, and then the relative path. So the relative path is go to assets, and in the assets you can see this is prod1 png, which is product1.png. Now save it. If you'll see, the first product image is rendered on the screen. So what I'll do is I'll copy this two more time, Control C, V, and change it to product 2, prod 2, product 3, and prod 3, product 3 and prod 3. Perfect. Now let's go and style this particular part of our footer section. So I'll go to the footer.css, and here I'll start with the very first thing, that is by the entire wrapper for footer. So I'll say footer. Now here also we will need a different shade of background color. So what I'll do is I'll go to my variables file, and I'll declare the hash color for my footer bg. So let me just check the hash code. The hash code for footer bg is footer background. This is hash code, or hex code is hashtag F6F0F0. F6F0F0. You can experiment with different shades of cream color, or you can take inspiration from Figma or Dribble, which is generally what I do, because I don't want to waste my time designing the website. I just take inspiration from Dribble or Figma, and then I create it, because my skills lie in front end. So should you do. If you are interested in UI and UX, you can create your own designs as well. So for the footer that we have here, the first thing that we need is the background color. So I'll say the background color needs to be variable bg cream, not cream, footer bg. Perfect. If you go here, it is not working. Let me see that what's going wrong. So for footer bg f0 f6, this should work actually. Let me see here again what's wrong. Okay, so it's not taking any width and anything, so let me just give it some width and everything. So the first thing is width of 100%. Now if you'll see this is taking a different shade of cream color. That's working fine now. Next to my width, I want everything to be displayed as flex. By far, so far you must have understood that I love flexbox property of CSS. So next to the flex, I want justify content as space between. So space between, which means put everything inside my div to the extreme ends. So if you'll see, we have just one div inside, and it is sticking to the left end of the footer. Now next to this, I want some padding. So I'll say padding. From the top and bottom, I want 36 pixel, and from left and right, I want 0 pixel. So there is some padding now. I guess vertically everything should be center. So I'll just say align items as center. Now next to my footer, I had the wrapper. So footer, images, wrapper. Now this wrapper will just contain my margin from left. Now in the previous Mainfold section, you must have remembered that we are giving a margin left of 80 pixel. Now everything is aligning perfectly. Now inside this, I will say display as flex. This is it. Now for individual image that we have, which is footer, footer product image. Footer product image. Now for the footer product image, I'll say margin right of 32 pixel, margin right of 32 pixel, and then we want next to the margin right, I want a border radius of 16 pixel so that the images are a little curved. Perfect. As you can see on my screen, this looks really good. And then next, let us style. This part is done. Let us style the video play icon here, which means this particular icon. So for this, I'll go to my footer index file, and here what I will do is I will create a div to enclose the footer, the play icon, and I'll give it a class name of footer play icon, footer play icon. Now in this play icon, I just need an image. So I'll say image, and I'll give it first of all the alt text, which will be play icon, and then I'll give it a class name of footer video logo, class name of footer video logo, and then finally I'll give this the source. Now as we did on top, I will give it need a require and then the relative path, which is go back, then in the assets, and in the assets file the name is, as you can see, video.png. So I'll say video.png. If I save it now, if you see, the play icon is here, and next to the play icon we also need the text called play video. So I'll create a div here and I'll say play video, and just this is the reason that why I enclosed the image and text inside a div, because I want it to be on top of each other, and by default everything in the footer is coming next to each other. So for this, now I'll give it a class name of footer play label, footer play label. Perfect. Now I'll just go to my footer.css file, and in the footer.css file I'll style the icon first of all. So for the footer play icon, I want margin right first of all to be 80 pixel, so that there is some gap. As you can see, there is some gap. And next to this, the color for the text, everything, I want solid brown color. So I'll go to my variables here and I'll declare the solid brown that I'm going to use. Now solid brown is, let me see the hex code here. Solid brown is 877C78. So let's say solid brown is hashtag 877C78, 877C78. Now again, if you are creating a design for a startup or something, the designer will give you all the hex code, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you're creating your own project, you can experiment with different colors. So this is solid brown. You must see that the text is now in the solid brown color. Next to the play icon that we have the size for this. So, but before everything, let us make sure that both of these are center. As you can see, it is not centered, it is left aligned. So I'll just write three properties very quickly. Display as flex, justify content as center, align items as center, but now it will come next to each other, so I'll have to change the flex direction to be as column. Perfect. Now it looks good. So final thing is I want the cursor to be as pointer. So cursor pointer looks good. Then I need some gap between these two, and I want it to be uppercase. So what I will do is, for the label, footer play label, right? Footer play label. Now for this label, what I will do is I'll say font size to be of 14 pixel, and next to the font size I'll say font weight to be of 500, and after font weight I want text transform, which means text transform my text to uppercase. Uppercase, done. Now I just want some gap between this the button and the label, so I'll say margin top to be 12 pixel. Perfect. Now this is how my website is looking. We just need this particular, the primary element on this website, which is the sneaker image. So for this, I'll go to the overlay image, and inside the overlay image we just have one thing, which is a image file that we have. So in the image file, I'll remove this. I'll directly write img, and I'll give it a first of all alt text, which is overlay Nike, save it. Now I'll give it a class name of overlay image, and finally I'll give it a source. Now to give it a source, we'll need require the relative path. The relative path is obviously assets, and the name, as you can see, is overlay image png, which is overlay image.png. Perfect. Now I'll just go to the CSS file here, and I'll write the CSS file for this overlay image. So if you must have, if you remember, in the last video, we gave the position of relative to my app. If you'll go here, you can see my app is relative. Now for the overlay image, I'll give it a position of absolute. Now this overlay image will be in absolute position with my app. So if you'll see now, okay, why is it not being rendered? Let me see. Overlay image.png, this is the name, overlay image.png. Okay, let me give it some left and right style so that I can see. Right 0. This should have come here, but let me see why is it not coming. If I just inspect it next, okay, sorry, so sorry. Inside my app file, I need to import my overlay image as well. So I'll say overlay image. Make sure that you're not making such silly mistakes. So if you'll go here, you can see that in the CSS, you can see this is the image that we have. We just have to scale it down a little bit and then shift it a little upwards. So what I will do is I'll say that height is 105 VH. View height according to this. Now it is looking good. I just have to transform it a little upwards. So what I will say, translate Y, which means on the Y axis, move it -2%. Minus 2% means upwards. Now you can see the entire image is visible. And now what will happen, sometimes it might happen that some other text might come on this shoe image. So for that purpose, you can just write Z index as 99 or the highest index that you have. So now this is it. As you can see, the Nike landing page is done. I hope you learned a lot from this video. And again, I would like to request you to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out such content. Big thanks to Newton School for helping me make this video. I will see you in the next video or next series where I'll teach you something new, of course. And if you're liking this, share it with your friends as well. Hope to see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.